I'm going to show you how to do some basic kinetic text in Final Cut Pro. And for our project, we're going to have to get a audio file off of YouTube or wherever. If you want to bring in a song on a flash disk, that's fine. But that I've shown in the previous tutorial. So we've got that ready to go. And what you need to do first is you got to get into Final Cut. Should be in your applications folder. And you want to first create a new event. This one has an event here. Your computer might look a little bit different because you're probably on a network account and this is a hard login. But I'm going to go to Macintosh HD. You should say that. Hold down the Control key on the keyboard, which is the bottom leftmost key, and click on that. And I can go down to New Event. And then I can click once on that. Usually you double click or whatever. You click once, and then once again slowly, and I can call this Brand Event 1. Okay, so I've got my event. Now I need to create a folder for all my work in here, and I'm going to go down into the project area, control click on Macintosh HD and do new folder, and I'm going to call that Brand, and then I'm going to control click on that. And again, it's very key that when you create that folder you click on Macintosh HD. You don't want to just click down anywhere. You can do that here, it just doesn't work the same. So then I can click on my Brand folder, control click on that, and go to New Project. Okay, this is going to be Brand Kinetic Text. Okay. Okay, so now I've got my timeline here, and I've also got the opportunity to import files. I can import from a video camera if we're going to do that. We'll do that for another project later. I can import files like different existing video files that I have or that I took off of YouTube. Or what I can do is I've got my MP3 here for my kinetic text on my desktop. If you downloaded it off of KeepVid or Snip MP3, it'll be in your downloads folder. I put it on my desktop, and I'm going to take this song in here. I'm going to drop it into my timeline. And then this will pop up here. You just leave this set how it's set, click OK. And what you're going to notice first is if you drag the mouse over that, it's going to be making sound as you go, which may or may not drive you crazy. If you want to turn that off, you can go over here to audio skimming, turn that off, and now when I drag my mouse back and forth over the timeline, it will not affect anything. Now, the first thing I want to show you about the timeline is the zoom controls. This is just like zooming kind of in any other program. You can zoom in, you can zoom out. Click and drag the slider to the right, and I'm zoomed very far in. Drag it to the left, and I'm zoomed very far out. You can see now if you look at the time on the timeline, this says 3 minutes here, this is 4 minutes, and if I were to zoom all the way in, you can see that the area that it's highlighting right now is just one individual frame. Okay, so it's a very, very short amount of time. I'm going to put it somewhere about like this, and I'm going to push spacebar, and I'm going to let it go, and you're going to hear the audio play.
You know what, big?
Oh, now it started playing from my cursor position. I'm going to put the cursor, this is the playhead up here, drag the playhead to the beginning. Yeah, to the beginning, right? And there we go. It starts from the beginning, okay? Again, it wants to go from
Let's go on the begin.
where the cursor is at, but you can click and drag this somewhere and then just move the mouse out of the way and click play. Okay, so now for the project, for kinetic text, I'm going to show you examples of this. Actually, by this point, you should have seen some examples of this that I showed you. I'll have you look at those first and then do this tutorial. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to go over and I can open my inspector here in the right here. And with my inspector, that gives me detailed controls over everything I need to do, including how my type comes out. So if I click on this, I can control titles, and I've got this thing called basic title. Okay. Now, in order to create a basic title with some basic text that I'm going to animate, I can just bring that out into the timeline. Keep dragging it over here, drop it down, and then I'm going to zoom in on that area. I'm going to zoom in with that, and you can scroll left and right with your mouse if you want to move through your timeline. You can also grab this at the bottom here to navigate, and I want to match my... You can also do Command plus and Command minus on the timeline to zoom, just like in Photoshop. Okay, so I want to time this text to speak like the lyrics of this song. And the first lyric, I'm going to just play just this little snippet here. Uh-oh. So we might be losing it. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm going to push and just hear what this little wave, part of the waveform, sounds like. He's going do-do-do. That's 3 syllables. So what I want to do actually is I'm going to do Command plus. I'm going to zoom in even further, and I want to find the part where he just says the first syllable. It's right about here, okay? So now I'm going to Command minus. I'm going to bring the time frame of this title shorter, okay? And then I want to time it. I can look at the waveform. If I zoom back in, there's going to be a lot of zooming in and zooming out with this project. I'm going to take this and I'm going to drag it over so that it starts right at the same spot that comes up. You can see if I start from the beginning, there's nothing. And the second it starts, it lines up perfectly there. Okay? For this, you may want to turn audio scoping back on. Right? Now, I don't want it to say title. I want to make it say do. Right? Little do-do-do. So, I'm going to click on this, and I can just click directly in here, and then double-click on the text, and then start typing. Or, I can click on the clip here, go into my inspector, make sure my inspector is open, and I can go into text here, I can type the text here, and this also gives me control over all the other parameters, such as size. Right? You can also change the font, get a little bit expressive with it. Okay, and I want to make this bigger. Now, it says 288 is the limit. I can actually click on that, double-click on that, and I can type in a bigger number. Right? So I'm actually going to make that real big. 600. Okay, so this is step 1. We've got our text in here, and now with my type, selected, I can just basically highlight it if I wanted to retype it, etc. Now, say I wanted to move where this is on the screen, I can go back to video and go to transform. Okay, I got the video tab open here, and I go down to transform, click show, and then I can adjust where this lies on the X and the Y axis. Or I can also just go over here. This is probably how a lot of you are going to mainly do this. Click on the transformation button here, and I can just click and drag it around. It's a little bit easier. Okay. Now, when I'm done transforming, I click on that again, let go, and it's good to go. Okay. So, what I want this whole section to be is 3 do-do-do's, and I'm going to copy and paste that out. So I got this here. I'm going to click on it. I'm going to hold down the Option key, again, right next to the Control, bottom left-hand side of the keyboard. I'm going to hold down the Option key, click and drag this up, and it's going to drag out another instance of this. Now, when this appears, it's actually in the exact same spot. So with this highlighted, I'm going to click on my Transform controls. I'm going to move this over here. Okay, that was my second spot. And I'm going to actually go back to the first one with my Transform control on. I'm going to put that here. I'm going to kind of shift these around a little bit. Okay, and then the timing is going to be key on this. So I'm going to push play and just show what we got so far. It's not timed or anything. Okay, so those are actually pretty close in time. This first one is lined up to where it should be. And then let's find where the second do is. It's about here. It's a little bit of like a slurry sound. So I can click and drag the edge of this clip up here. Drop that there. I can take the tail end of this one and make it shorter if I don't want them to overlap. So I can make it so that when the first one, when the second one appears, the first one disappears. So let's see what we got so far. Okay, let's add that third do. Again, I click on here, hold down the Option key on the keyboard, click and drag this out. And I'm just guessing where it's placed. Let's listen real carefully for the third do. A little bit later. And then, of course, I want to move this since it's in the same location as that one, and it just overlaps. You won't see it. So let's move it over here, and let's see what we got. Maybe it's a little bit late. So you might want to adjust these frame by frame. Again, it helps. If you really need to zoom in a whole lot, that's fine. Okay, so good. So now I've got that little section there, and if you listen to the song, the next section is going to say that same thing again, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click and select all of these, hold down the Option key, and drag out. And again, that's made a whole other set of do-to-dos, right? So it's going to say that again. Hold down Option, click and drag these out. Now say I want a little bit of variation in that. I can combine these together. So I'm going to take these, click and drag over that, and I'm going to hold down the Option key and push G for group. Option G. Okay, now I've created a compound clip. With that compound clip, I've got a lot of cool control. I can actually take that and I can go in with my transform, and now it's going to move. Gotta select the compound clip. It's going to move. Got it. It's going to move the entire compounded clip. So if I move that over there, you can see everything within that got moved over there, right? So okay, now for these parts, I'm going to show you how to keyframe some animation. This says I got that long duh. So I'm going to go back in with my type tool. Click on my type tool. Go into basic title, drag out my basic title, and try to get to line up about here. And at this point, in any kind of work project, you usually want to have saved. Something that you'll either love or hate about this new Final Cut, or just be suspicious about, like I am a little bit, is it does not allow you to save. You go to File, there's no save. It auto-saves for you, supposedly quite frequently. It's actually been pretty good for me most of the time, but I've had people have it crash on them and lose about 10 minutes of work. So it's not too bad, but it is what it is. Okay, so now I got this do. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to type in there, do something like that. Something like that. Click on my text, drag my size up. I like the size on that. Just fits in the screen pretty well. And now what I want to do is I want to actually animate this. And I'm going to end up using these a couple times. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I've got my... So I'm bringing my din on that back over from this guy. Okay. I'm going to option click this out. Option click this out, and it's a little too long. I can see that it's too long for that third do, so I'm going to just drag it short a little bit, drag the tail down on that a little bit, and I can zoom way in and just really get that to hit at the right time. It looks like that's a pretty good start point for that. Okay, so now that I've got these in here, I want to show you how to keyframe things to make them move, okay? So rather than have things just appear and disappear in different spots, what we could do is have them actually animated. So I'm going to go to the very beginning of my clip here, and I can use the arrow keys as well, left arrow key and right arrow key to move around the playhead. And I'm going to click on this, and then what I want to do is I want to go over into the video tab and go back down to transform, how I showed you could move stuff around a little bit before. And I want to move this into place for where I want it to begin its animation, and I'm going to have it start just out of frame actually. And you can do the same thing. You can still do it with this transform down here. Move it down, and I want it to start there and then rise up while he's singing, right? So I'm going to click on position, add a keyframe, and there's nothing there until you move the mouse over there, but you click that, and again, remember, if your transform is hidden, you're going to click show. Click on position, and you can see something's changed over here. It's added a keyframe. Okay? To see your keyframes over here, you can click on this little handle section, click show video animation, and now if I scroll up here, I'm using the little trackpad on my mouse, little ball, you can see there's a little diamond shaped thing there. That's a keyframe. Okay? Now I want to move to the end of this, and I want to add another keyframe. Okay? Now it's very important that you add this keyframe first and then go to move where you want it to become later. You can see now that track that path of where it moves becomes evident. I'm going to have it just rise up out of the frame. And if I had added that keyframe after I moved it, it's going to actually affect the previous keyframe. So essentially, it won't actually move at all. It'll just keyframe it in the same spot. So now you can see the difference between where it was keyed in that location and then keyed in at this location is shown by that red line. Go ahead and play it. Okay, now I want to animate this one, and I'm going to have this one appear in the middle, but I want it to jump up and down, and I want to have it animate a couple different ways, okay? So I've got it already timed in pretty good. I want to go in, make sure that this is selected. I'll go ahead and show my video animation so you can see the keyframes appear. I'm going to do a lot of keyframes on this. I'm going to go here, create a keyframe, move the playhead, create another keyframe, and then move the object. I'm going to move it diagonally. I'm going to go here, create another keyframe, move the object. And you can see the path it's creating is starting to become more complicated. Keyframe, move. Space, keyframe, move. Move the timeline, add a keyframe, move the object. Okay, and then I'm going to go to the end. I'm just going to add one more keyframe, or this thing kind of flies away. Okay. Now, if I were to watch this section, move my playhead back here. Right? You can see. Watch this whole section. There's some complex animation going on here from each of those keyframes, and you can see the keyframes are also represented right here on the screen. If you want to click on them, it'll move your playhead to that spot in time, and then you can actually physically click on it and adjust the animation this way too. Just kind of lets you transform it in space. Again, that's only if your transform controls are turned on. Okay, so see what we got. Right, and I don't like where this one is in space. I actually like where it's kind of centered. Okay, Command minus and Command plus also will zoom in this if you're this viewer here, unless you actually have the timeline in the front, in which case you can Command minus and Command plus. Quick side note. Okay, so this is what I got so far. Okay, so that is all I'm going to show you for this tutorial. That's some basic keyframing. I'm going to come back in the next tutorial and I'm going to show you how to take some TIFF files that are transparent and animate them within this, so you can actually have a little bit of graphics and a little bit of, you know, a little bit of extra objects that will illustrate the lyrics of the song. Okay, thanks for watching.